How is it going? Welcome back to the Man United podcast. How's it going? I've had a bit of a change of setup here as well. I just had a little bit of a move around of my little desk setup here. So yeah, it's not a multi-billion-pound setup that I've got going on here, but I've had a little bit of a shift around. So today we're talking about has Rangnick failed as a Man United manager so far? You know, the big hype of Rangnick coming in. You know, had all these this massive kind of hype about him, didn't he? This massive insight into this guy who knew so much about football, who was a philosopher of football, a scientist, a professor of football. You know, was he the right man to take over at Man United? Was he the one that was going to show us the way? Off the back of Ollie, obviously everyone sort of ridiculing Ollie as a bit of a poor tactician, a poor man's a school teacher of football. You know, didn't know it at that level. You know, we needed somebody else. It had been 3 years almost of Ollie. Did we need somebody else? And all of a sudden, you know, we get Rangnick, and it's like, wow, okay, we're transforming, we're turning this around. So, Imran, how you doing? How's it going, man? How you doing? Nice to see you. So we're talking about today, was Rangnick the right man? Is he still the right man for now till the end of the season? I suppose we've got no other option. Would he be the right man to take us forward beyond just you know, the end of the season? Would you see him taking full time and as full time manager and beyond this season into next season? Would he? Obviously, he's going to be a footballing director or a director of football, or he's going to be a consultant in some sort of shape or form in the club as well, beyond management. So when he does actually, you know, pack in this interim gig that he's doing at this moment in time, he's going to be taking a role in football beyond that as well in the club. So do we trust him to make transfers, to make other decisions outside of the tactical side of the game? Which, to be honest, he seems to be his strength. We couldn't score once against an out-of-team form. We're going to go run through. We're going to run through that Imran anyway today. We're going to run through the sort of the games that he's had, the games that we expected to win, the games we did win but probably shouldn't have won. So the guy's had 17 games at this moment in time. He's won 8. Drawn 8, lost 1. In theory, he's actually lost 2. They're classing the Middlesbrough game as a draw, despite the fact they lost on penalties. So that in his stats is classed as a draw. I don't know how, maybe it's just classed over 90 minutes and penalties doesn't actually count. But in my book, he lost that game. So that is, to me, 8 wins, 7 draws and 2 losses. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about those results and have a little look through that. I don't know if he's a shell. I think he's in certain respects. I mean, without breaking every single game down, every single, you know, one of the 17 games that he's had down there, I think there's been moments in those games where we could have been more clinical. You know, Bruno's missed some chances. If I don't go back to the Middlesbrough game, we were still in that game. We'd still be in that competition if it wasn't for Bruno missing an absolute sitter. I think Ronaldo had a sitter in that game. All the players had sitters in that game. We had an abundance of chances that we didn't take. We should have killed the game off in the first 20, 30 minutes and we didn't. So can I necessarily blame Rangnick for lack of clinical chances? If you're the so-called father of tactics or some stuff, you can't lead a team like Man U, who were recently European runners-up. Yeah, look, you know, I mean, we're still in the Champions League. Don't forget that though, mate. You know, I know obviously I'm not sure if you get locked out in the last 16 now, do you still qualify for the Europa League? Does that still count? I know it used to do, I think, if you got knocked out in the first knockout stage of the Champions League. But we don't want to be there, do we? We've got a massive chance going to Old Trafford to beat Atletico Madrid, and going to the last 8, aren't we? You know, the quarters next after this, so it's a big step up for us. So, you know, we after things have happened, worse teams have won the Champions League before us. You know, Carrick, if you watched the overlap the other day, Gary Neville's overlap live gig. Carrick was talking about the Liverpool team that won that Champions League against that AC Milan team, and it didn't deserve to. So we never know. We've got a better squad than that Liverpool had, I think, back then when they won that back in 2004, 2003, 2004 was it? I can't remember. Somebody will tell me otherwise. But yeah, no, look, there's been games where we could have performed better. I think tactically he's messed up in occasions. Selection, he's been poor on occasions. We'll talk a little bit about that. But I think ultimately there's been games as well where we've just not been clinical enough. You pick a team, you pick a set of tactics. These are the same players that Ollie picked, and there's also a bit of a personnel issue. And plus, Rangnick didn't have best of Pogba for most of the time that he's been there. I mean, we came recently from being finalists, but we still have a big chance at defeating Atletico with back in form Elanga and some other lads. Yeah, look, we're in the Champions League. If anything, okay, you get to a final of the Europa League, which is still a big competition to win. It's still something you have to win. It's a long way through. Even if you get through from the group stages in the Champions League, it's still a long competition. There's still a lot of games. And, personally, it's a tough competition. There's still some big teams. Obviously, Barcelona are in that now. Napoli are still in that competition. I know there's some other big teams in there as well. Dortmund, Rangers are having a good crack at it as well at the minute. So there's some good teams in that competition now, and there's that many European teams who are strong. So I agree with you. I think we should, off the back of being a finalist at Europa League, probably should have won it. Winning a cup competition, obviously won it back in 2017. Go finalist again once we go back into the competition. Should have won it. Didn't win it. And yeah, we should do well in the Champions League. We should improve from there. I get your point completely. We should improve, and in theory we have improved, because now we've got through to the quarters at the the last 16 in the Champions League, and could be going through to the quarters if we just do what we are capable of at home at Old Trafford against, let's be honest, not the greatest of Spanish teams at this moment in time, but they do have dangers in that team. We've got to be careful. But back onto Rangnick, do I think he's been a failure? I don't think he's been a success. I think keeping Carrick to the end of the season would have been a better option, if I'm honest. Like Zinedine Zidane recently, Ronaldo needs rest, and he's not wrong. He's not wrong, but the position of Man United are not at the moment of having a Ronaldo-less team. Yeah, I get right. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think we just need to be a little more stern. Rangnick's come in and he's. Well, I think what he's trying to do is not upset the apple cart a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about his man management. So there's been occasions where Martial, he had an issue with Martial pretty early on coming into Old Trafford. That was quite clear. He said a few things that he probably shouldn't have said in the media. Was quite honest. As we all know, when you're too honest with the British media, that's not always a good thing, because they spin it in a certain way and create stories, which creates divide. And we end up in a position where then there's fraction in the team. And I think him speaking out quite honestly and what he thought was honest, and a way we'd receive respect from the media and from the fans by speaking aloud about certain players, only made the situation worse with Martial. So that was an issue. Obviously Martial then got loaned out. There was then a similar situation with Lingard, which wasn't great. And there's been other situations with other players, Pogba, Ronaldo, Maguire. And so I think the way that he's dealt with certain things in the media has not been particularly great. I think he could have dealt with it better. The Martial feud was bad luck, especially with him now performing in Sevilla. It was only a matter of time, wasn't it? Then the kid is a talented kid. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the league is anywhere near the standard and level that the Premier League is. It's not. From top to bottom, it's not. At the very, very top, it is. But from top to bottom, league for league, team for team, it's not. The competition's not at the same level. But Martial's a quality player. He's still a very young player. Still got a lot of years ahead of him, and he needs to run a games. He had a good season the season before last. Scored a few goals with Rashford. Rashford is the same, going for the same patch now. And we need to work out a style. That's ultimately the problem. I think Rangnick's trying to do that, but in the time that he's got and the spell that he's come into, it's difficult. You come into a winter break, Christmas time, and try and organise a team where there's already a bit of a divide in the camp. Players unhappy, players wanting to move. Donny van der Beek was another one that didn't really work out to the best, and I don't think he's been particularly ripping it up with Everton. Although I know he had a good first game that he played, but I'm not sure how he's done since then. Really, if I'm honest, but so I think generally his man management's been a bit 50-50. I think there's been occasions where he hasn't dealt with it particularly well, and equally I don't think he's dealt with the media particularly well on occasions. I think he's been too honest. If you watch his media press conferences now, he's quite cold with the media. He's quite abrupt. He's quite stern, and I think he's learnt from his early mistakes over the last couple of months, where he was quite friendly and open and honest. It doesn't get you anywhere, especially as a manager of a big club. And I think he realised that. Has realised that now. Let's kind of move on then from that. So just in terms of let me just take that away for a second. I don't know if he's gonna play ball with me here. We'll see. But yeah. It is. We're okay. I'm just going to see if it's going to switch across this screen. So, right, let's discuss this then. I'll just scroll back to the top. Yeah, so just want to get the chat sorted out here as well a little bit. Apologies if was messing around. So the manager situation, list of Manchester United managers. Let's see where they fare. So I've listed this in terms of win percentage, top win percentage for So obviously at the moment. We have Michael Carrick doing very, very well, but obviously he only had 3 games, which he won 2 and drawn 1 and lost none. So, so a big pat on the back to Michael Carrick. And from what I remember, Carrick had some big games to play. I think he had the Arsenal game. Did he have Chelsea, Arsenal? Had a European game, didn't he? Which was a must-win game. I think that was the Villarreal game. So we had Villarreal, Chelsea, Arsenal, and he came through that with flying colours, winning 2, drawing 1. And I think the one he drew was the Chelsea game. So I'm just really, really impressed with Carrick, and I think, if I'm brutally honest, I think Carrick could have taken us to the end of the season. I think he sort of got a sort of a winning mentality. And I really think he was caretaking the team, and he could have really sort of taken us back to the back end of the season with then a view of putting somebody in there properly. But the minute the Rangnick thing has really kind of shaken everything up, hasn't it, completely? So obviously the legend that is Alex Ferguson next. I mean, so obviously Carrick with a 66.6% win percentage, which isn't really a reflective percentage if you kind of want to look at the level of games. But moving on to Sir Alex Ferguson, 59.6, which is an unbelievable win percentage considering the amount of games that fella played at United, and that was 1,500 games where he managed Man United, which is an unbelievable win percentage. And obviously the level of trophies that he won But in terms of the managers that then succeeded him, other than some of the historical managers that were in the club, if we just focus on the top ones, which obviously Mourinho, Solskjaer, Moyes, Louis van Gaal, and then Ralf Rangnick, will skip Rangnick out as caretaker. But this is filtered for win percentage, so it tells you a tale when I'm having to scroll down to find Ralf Rangnick. So if you look at Mourinho at 58.33, despite the fact that we've got a pretty bad rap at United. I agree. It was still early to judge Carrick, but I think in terms of the games that he had, he didn't have 3 very winnable games. He had 3 probably very, very tough games to win, Michael Carrick, and I think he had, like I say, in no particular order, he had Chelsea, Villarreal from what I recall, and the and Arsenal, and 2 or 3 out of 3 of those games he won, one of which he drew, and he was one of the reasons we went through in that Champions League, because he got that draw, which was crucial. Sorry, he got the draw against Chelsea, but we beat Villarreal in that game, didn't we? That was Ronaldo when he scored the last minute winner. Was it Villarreal or was it Atalanta? I can't recall now. I think it was the Atalanta game, wasn't it? Off the top of my head, where Ronaldo got the volley in the last minute. Sorry. So, but Mourinho there with a 58.33 win percentage out of 144 games. He won 84, drew 32, lost 28. So still an impressive win percentage, considering the flack that Mourinho got, the feeling that he apparently put onto the club and the players. I think he was just honest, and I think there's a lot of players that didn't like it. But you look at that win percentage, 58.33. It's 4% better than the next. Was it the Villarreal game, Imran? I can't remember, if I'm brutally honest. I couldn't remember. I went to one of the games, but they kind of merged into one now, from what I recall. So it was a Villarreal game. But so 4% better than the next person along, which was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Despite Ole Gunnar Solskjaer having another sort of 20 games. So Mourinho, incredible win percentage, and came away from United with 3 cups as well in his spell over a 2-year period. 2016 to 2018, managed to come away with 3 cups, which the last time we won a trophy. So really impressive win percentage there. Look, Mourinho was incredible, and I think the trouble is with Mourinho, he created a bit of a persona for himself in terms of the expectation in which I think people then expected, but he delivered. Clearly, he delivered when you base it on his win percentage. When you look down, then Solskjaer got 54.17, 168 games, 91 won, 37 drawn, 40 lost, which is pretty poor, really. David Moyes, 51 games, 27 wins, 9 draws, 15 losses, and that was a 52.94 win percentage. Louis van Gaal with 103 games, 54 wins, 25 draws, 25 losses, 52.43 win average. Then so we scroll down to then Ralf Rangnick, 17 games, 8 wins, 8 draws, 1 loss. I'm a bit sceptical with the 8 draws. I think one of them was technically a loss, but he did have a lot of losses, didn't he? 40 losses, serious amount of losses, nearly half as many losses as he had wins. I did quite a lot of draws though as well, so obviously that kind of supported his average a bit better, a bit more. But when you look down at Rangnick now, I think the concerning thing is this is what I'm going to get into now in terms of the fixtures that he's had, the games that he's had, the type of games that he's had. Albeit I know he's come in mid-season, he's pretty new to the Premier League, he's pretty new to a big club like Man United as manager. There's a lot of factors and variables that I think that you can give to him in his favour. But having said that, I think ultimately he's basically had a poor start to his management. So when we look at that, then 17 games, as I say. Sorry, I'll scroll down a little bit. You can't see his percentage. Tell me, Imran, if you can't see that, by the way. I can tell I'm in the way, aren't I? I'm in the way there. But yeah, so we've got 17 games, 8 wins, 8 draws, 1 loss, technically 2 losses, 47.06 win percentage. Now, there's some great stats on his points that he's acquired. There's only Man City that have acquired more points than him since he's come in. But it's the points that he should have got for me. And this is where I'm going to jump onto the fixtures now. So we'll just jump very, very quickly onto the fixtures. Let's just jump onto that. So we'll scroll up to his first game, which I believe was Palace. Now, the games that he won were Palace, Norwich, Burnley, Villa, Brentford, West Ham, Leeds and Brighton. Brighton I've just snuck in there on my notes, but Palace was 1-0. I went to the Palace game. Everyone was talking about this miraculous sort of turnaround at Palace, where United were pressing in the first 30 minutes, looked unbelievable, started having some sort of level of style and possession, and Rangnick had turned it around. We just come off the back of a 3-2 win at Old Trafford, where I believe Ronaldo scored, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not going to click on that. Obviously, we'd come off the back of a 2-0 win with Carrick at Villarreal. Away at Chelsea, 1-1. At the time, Chelsea were flying unbelievably. Looked like they were going to win the title. 1-3-2 at home to Arsenal. We're going into Palace. We're thinking, right, this is time to kick on now. We've had 3 good results, tough games. Time to get a result now. A winnable Palace. We go to Palace come to our place. We struggle to create anything. We have a limited amount of chances. If we actually click on the game itself, so this is Rangnick's first game. Fred scored the good goal, to be fair to Fred. Dominated possession. Pass accuracy was good. Shots 16, but 3 on target. Poor return in terms of his shots on target in regards to how many shots we've taken. We did limit Palace to chances. When we come to that, we did limit them, and I felt we did that pretty well. We were defensively better. I remember Rangnick talking about the fact that we were defensively poor. We were leaking a lot of goals prior to him coming in. That was something that we needed to address. And to be fair to Rangnick, that is something he has kind of addressed. But that's not something United fans wanted to see. We wanted to see more chances and more chances being converted. We just come off the back of a 3-2 win at Arsenal. A couple of games before that, we'd beaten Villarreal 2-0. So we were scoring goals in patches. Go to Palace, we struggle to create, and Fred scores, which is okay. Fred scores, well done, Fred. But sorry, I missed your comment there. I think Ralf should stick to coaching. Coaches only. It's a horror show at the moment as we lost very important games, and we honestly we have seen poor playmaking performances by Man United. Yeah, and what I will say is we've seen that prior to that as well. We've seen that leading up to that. That's not just Ralf Rangnick. We've been seeing that previous to that as well. We totally have. That's not been. It's definitely not just sort of Ralf Rangnick that's caused that. I think we struggle for a creative midfield. Bruno's doing a lot of that work at this moment in time. My bad. Let me just take that away. yeah, what was I saying? So yeah, Ralf Rangnick's not necessarily just the issue or the person to blame really. I think we've had a lot of struggles with that. I think when teams sitting against us, we struggle to break weaker teams down, and that's where ultimately we've had a problem and continue to have a problem. But yeah, so let's just focus back on these fixtures then. So just jumping straight back onto have I lost the stream? Sorry if I lost the stream then. Yeah, so jumping straight back onto the Palace game. So that was Rangnick's first game. So Man City are our hardest opponents, yet we know the gravity of the situation. As God forbid we lose to City, it digs a grave for Ralf, and God forbid we lose Atletico too. Do you know what? I will come on to it, but I really did feel like the Middlesbrough game was quite a big and disappointing game for Ralf to lose. I really felt like that was the real kind of killer blow for any sort of seriousness in terms of him as a manager beyond just this season. That wasn't particularly great. Because it was a winnable game, we absolutely dominated that game. It was a cup competition that I think United could win more of, or should have won more of over the last few years, and we didn't, and we haven't, and that ultimately was the problem for me. I felt like that showed too much of like what we're about or what we lack. To dominate a game, to kill it off, to win it 3-4, 5-0 at home. And just absolutely wipe the floor with Middlesbrough. We didn't do that. We allowed them to play. We allowed them to get back into the game. We allowed them to have spells in the game where they threatened us. And ultimately, it was disappointing. And it was another cup competition that was quite a winnable cup competition for us this season. Just thrown away. Ultimately, just thrown away. And that was really sad to let that one go. But that was what it was at the time. There we go. So, yeah, 2 seconds. Sorry. I'm just trying to negotiate my pop-out chat, which is just not having it. There we go. Right. So, we played Palace. We won 1-0. Not convincing. We go to Young Boys, and we had a good game. We literally played the Young Boys, our own Young Boys this time, and that was an interesting one. I think it was good. It was good for us. I think it was good that the fact that some of the young kids got to play a big game, a Champions League game. Some of those kids may never play a Champions League game ever again in their careers. And he gave those young lads a chance, and it was an opportunity for him to see other players as well, like Lingard, who had not featured up until that point, for him probably, and some other players as well, possibly Alanga as well. It was an opportunity for him to show it was a little bit what he was about. So yeah, it was a bit of a nothing game, win, lose or draw. I don't think anybody was going to criticise Rangnick over the Young Boys game. Move on to Norwich, where we struggled, hugely struggled, embarrassingly so, but struggled terribly, really poorly, struggled, and Ronaldo got a weak penalty in the last minute, or last few minutes of the game, and we won 1-0. It was embarrassing at the time. Norwich was struggling. I think they were just about out of a manager, or just about sacked the manager, or had sacked the manager at that point coming into that game. So embarrassing again not to have dominated that game. Norwich bottom of the league, and we couldn't just kill that game off. Instead, we managed to scrape through, so we got 3 points there. Then we go to Newcastle, another team that was struggling at the bottom of the league. So by this point, Rangnick's played Palace, Premier League wise, Palace, Norwich, and he's coming to Newcastle. 3 of the teams that are flirting with the bottom of the table. Draws a game, draws it. disappointing. Newcastle dominated the game. Joe Linton had one of the best games he's ever played in a Newcastle shirt. At St James's Park, St Maximum as well was unbelievable, and we just let them play. Embarrassing. The first real sort of embarrassing sort of performance I think that Rangnick had up until that point. Norwich one wasn't great, but the Newcastle one showed some big frailties in attitude, and already he was already on the back foot I think after the Newcastle game. So it was a big 2 points lost there for Man United. We go to Burnley. We play well. We play okay. I think there was elements in the game where, you know, we take our chance, they possibly don't take chances. It wasn't convincing again, but it was more convincing, and we got the result, and that's sometimes what matters over the performance. But yeah, so we drew that, you know, we draw that game, and then we go to Wolves come to Old Trafford, and I personally went to this game. I went to it and we got dominated from the first whistle to the final whistle. There wasn't a moment in that game where I felt that we actually coped. Pogba came on. I think that was Pogba's first game back. If I recall, I think he was back. Or was it McTominay? I think he was back. If from what I recall, I think he played that game. I might be wrong. It might have been McTominay. But they dominated the game. Imran, they absolutely dominated it. Absolutely dominated it from start to finish. The Wolves. Neves had one of the best games I've seen him play. Mourinho was incredible. Who got the goal? Eventually got the goal. You know, Traore came on in the last 20. Was unbelievable. We got dominated at Old Trafford by Wolves, who were sitting 7th at the minute, 8th. Just disappointing, very poor. And so off the back of the Newcastle game, we win at Burnley, so it kind of divides up the shock a little bit. But then the Wolves game was a huge step backwards. Up to that sort of point, then he's not really convinced anybody, is Rangnick. You know, it's a tough winter period. You know, you've got a lot of games. There'd been a winter break as well. There'd been some winter fixtures, hasn't there? I think obviously some where we had a sort of a 2-week break, and yeah, so we disappointing really. Disappointing again. I think we have another large window before the Villa game, where we have another break. So obviously a good spell in between, but we go to Villa. And we win 1-0. That's obviously Gerrard's there now, and we scrape by. No Coutinho, thankfully, in that game, and we win it 1-0. Not convincing again. Then we go. Sorry, that was the FA Cup, and then Villa come to our we go to Villa's place, and we draw 2-2, winning the game 2-0. 60 minutes. Implode, similar to how we did against Leeds. Absolutely implode within a 10-minute period. Coutinho comes out of nowhere and suddenly sparks into life and turns the game around single-handedly and just implode, and that's another big 2 points lost. So over the space of 5 games in the Premier League, we've probably lost, you know, what's that, 7 points in across 4 games against teams that we should arguably be beating. So another disappointing display. Go away to Brentford, who I remember we didn't. Once again, I think their manager come out and said that we would have been lucky to have got a draw. I couldn't disagree with him. I thought we were poor away against Brentford. Didn't look like we deserved to win. Then go to West Ham, come to our place, actually put in a solid performance against a good team. Maguire was solid, other players were solid, and managed to get a 1-0 win, which was again deserved. It just, you know, unbelievable. So you're thinking, right, okay, has there been a corner turned here? Has there been a little bit of a understanding? Have we actually turned a corner and knuckled down off the back of the disappointing Villa result? Going to the Middlesbrough game, he plays a strong team. Ronaldo, Bruno, I think Rashford played. It was a strong side. Some weird tactical decisions from Rangnick leading to the penalties. replacing certain players. I think Phil Jones came on to take a penalty. Alanga obviously missed the final one. Should have dominated the game, but can you blame Rangnick for some of the clinical chances that were missed? Obviously Bruno had a sitter, Ronaldo had some sitters, other players had chances to kill that game off in the first 30 minutes, and we didn't. I'm sorry if I'm saying right. No, mate, honestly, like, you're not quiet at all. Like your messages, you message away when you feel free, feel up to it. But let me do the talking. If you don't feel up to it, don't have to apologise. And then Burnley, go to Burnley. Again, another disappointing 1-1 draw. Who scored against us in that game? Actually, I don't even want to look. I remember watching it, but it was just pretty poor all round. Southampton again, another poor display. At home, wasn't convincing. Southampton all over us. Let's check who scored in that game, actually. Sancho got one. Che Adams, Che Adams far left, wasn't it? Knocked it across goal. Good finish in the bottom corner, I remember. That was disappointing. Then go to Brighton, where we actually played well against Brighton. Actually, put in a performance against Brighton. I think Ronaldo gets a goal as well, doesn't he? And ends his drought. Fernandes gets a goal. Don't get sent off. We were good in that game. That was one of the games we were actually good. Started putting in a bit of a display. Then we got away at Leeds. Ellen Rowe, tough game. Southampton and Burnley were shockers, mate. Terrible. There's been a spate of shockers this season. There really has. And dare I say it, I feel like we were more solid and more compact and had more of a philosophy under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So this is a concerning thing, Amran. So the teams that he's played, so let's just weigh it up now. So obviously we get to Leeds, we win 4-2, go to Atletico Madrid, absolutely get dominated in that game, managed to one bit of brilliance from Bruno, one bit of brilliance from Alanga, we get a goal, and then we go to Watford off the back of that and dominate the game again, struggle to score. We should have won that game. That was probably one of the performances of the season for us in terms of actually finally dominating a performance and having a bit of a philosophy. Yet we didn't score, so that was disappointing in itself. But let's just look at the games in where we dropped points. So in terms of the draws, other than the Middlesbrough game and the loss, so forget the wins. Other than the fact that some of the wins weren't particularly convincing, the draws. So draw against Young Boys, fine. Young Boys was a bit of a test, so we're not going to count that one anyway out of the 8 draws that we had. But Newcastle, drew against Newcastle. Newcastle dominated that game. Horrendous. Should never have dominated the game. We should have, even at St James's Park, considering where Newcastle were in the league, the confidence, all the other things. Why all of a sudden did Newcastle get confidence against us when it mattered, when they were playing Man United? They've been shite all season, and next minute they're good. Newcastle was poor. We dropped points at Newcastle. We should have won that game. It's Newcastle. They were near the bottom of the table. They were in the bottom 3. Villa have been struggling. Villa have got a new manager in. They were in a spate of misconfidence, unconfident. We should have been winning that game. The squad that we've got, the players we've got, the talent we've got, the resources we've got, we should be winning that game against Villa, considering where they were. New manager, new team, few new players. We should have been winning that game. We draw it. Burnley, we draw that game. Burnley were struggling. Burnley have been struggling. Burnley getting some form at the minute under Sean Dyche, but we're struggling at the time, and we're near the bottom of the table again. Southampton. Okay, Southampton out of those were a little better, mid-table. But weren't convincing, haven't been convincing, are a mid-table team who we should be expected to beat. We drew the game. Atletico Madrid, fair enough. Tough game, tough opposition. We didn't play well, and it was poor. Overall, it was poor, and we managed to be honest, scrape to win. But it's Champions League. The result matters, not the performance, and we got the result. Watford dominated the game, dominated the whole entire game, dominated possession, dominated the chances. Were again not clinical enough. Some of those games, Rangnick's fault. I think some of them were. I think selection at times, his fullback selection. Fullback selection the other day against was it? Let's have a look. Was it Southampton when he played a right back? We played Lindelof right back. Played Dallo right. There was a game we played that. Yeah, I can't remember if it was. Was it the Atletico Madrid game? It was the Atletico Madrid game, wasn't it? Which was naive. Lindelof, right back. So there's been technically games where he's been tactically poor. Rashford not performed well this season, but if at all. I started far too many games, putting his faith too much in Rashford. Fred, not technically good enough. Shaw's not been good enough. Harry Maguire's been up and down. But Lindelof, right back, when he had Dallo and Wan-Bissaka on the bench, fit. So there's been some issues, hasn't there, with his overall sort of tactical selection and tactical choices at times. When you sort of look at the games coming up, the games that he's had, so he's had Palace, Norwich, Burnley, Villa, Brentford, West Ham, Leeds, Brighton, Newcastle, Villa, Burnley, Southampton, Watford, Middlesbrough, Wolves. You know, teams that he should be expecting to beat, middle to bottom half of the table. Just very, very, very poor. Very poor. I mean, look at the games coming up now in March. So we've got Man City next, who are kind of on a little bit of a plateau, but their plateau is much higher than our peak, and so that's a worry where we're going to be at with that. Spurs next after that, could smash you, could fall off a cliff. Obviously, we beat Spurs early part of the season, but Kane seems to be firing again. Son seems to be back on form. Yeah, Wan-Bissaka was good the other night, I'll be honest, against Watford. It just, again, the attacking threat that Wan-Bissaka lacks is a concern. So, Man City, Spurs, then we're back at Atletico Madrid, so there'll be a short break in between that, a few days, early kick-off on a Tuesday, then early kick-off on, I'm guessing that's the Saturday, 12:30, Liverpool, then Leicester, then Everton's never easy. Okay, Norwich, easy game, then Arsenal. So, Man City, Tottenham, Madrid, Liverpool, Leicester. It's like, wow, that march into April is seriously tough. And the games where he drew, so Newcastle, Villa, Burnley, Southampton, Watford, and lost against Wolves, they were all, they're all points that he's absolutely missed out on. And that's the reason the top four, for me, I think has now gone. Relying on, we could be looking at a March here where we might not even pick up a single point. Liverpool's still got the league to play. They're going to want to win that game. They're not only going to win that game, they're going to want to smash us in that game, like they did in the first game of the season at Old Trafford. At Anfield, they're going to want to smash us, embarrass us. Man City will want to do the same. They'll want to win. Obviously, they've got the league on the line, and they'll want to win it, and they'll want to smash us at the same time. Spurs have got a top four to play for. So they've got everything to play for there. Just a lot of worry there in regards to that, and I think, has Rangnick failed? I would say so far he has. Yeah, I think he has. I think his percentage is poor, yeah, I think he has failed, if I'm brutally honest. But yeah, sorry, what did you say there, mate? I missed that. Same for Tottenham. I wouldn't say came back in form as they struggled against Brentford or Burnley. I don't remember. They've had an up and down season as well, haven't they? But I would say Kane's somewhere back to getting a threat. And if Kane's scoring goals, Tottenham are always a threat as well. I think with the mere fact that they've got, a game. I'm just going to restore this chat on here. I think the mere fact that they've got, that kind of level of quality in their team. Arsenal will struggle, I'm sure of it. I don't know about that either. I watched Arsenal against Wolves the other night, a game that we lost, a game that we didn't even dominate. Arsenal dominated that game against Wolves. Okay, they were at the Emirates Stadium, but they dominated the game against Wolves. We got outthought, outmatched, physically we got outmatched. Arsenal are more of a physical team than Man United. Why are we getting outmatched by Wolves? Yet Arsenal are dominating that game. So for me, it's poor. Yeah, who's next? Pochettino. He puts Pochettino as a Dan. I don't know. Other than the stuff that Pochettino did in the league, the Premier League, when he was here, seems a genuine sort of guy. Seems like he knows what he's talking about. Zidane, I'm not so convinced. I'm not sure his English is great. I'm not sure he knows enough about the league, enough about the teams, enough about the players. I think it's a big name and it seems nice, it seems glamorous. Will it work? I don't think it will, and I don't think he wants to come. Pochettino, I'm not sure. Does he want to come? Is it a big club now? Is it working out? I'm not sure. Seems to be working out. I think if he wins the Champions League, could they want to keep him for another season or whatever, possibly. But I will talk about that. I've got another sort of live stream tomorrow, which I'm going to do a bit on Ten Hag and Pochettino and just who's next and get your views on that. So save your thoughts on the next manager for that stream if you don't mind. You can mention it now if you want. It's fine. But no, genuinely, has Rangnick failed? I think it'll become more clear when we see March play out. If we somehow manage to scrape results out of Man City and Liverpool, and we go through in the Champions League, Rangnick will be held aloft and the fans will be singing his name by the end of March. But I think realistically it's not likely that Man United are going to get results out of those fixtures. Yeah, Zidane was interested. I heard he was interested, but then I've heard a lot of there's a lot of clickbait, there's a lot of news spinning around, and you just genuinely don't know what to believe. I think the two main players at this moment in time are Pochettino and Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag is probably somebody that Rangnick could be more keen on acquiring as part of his new role in the club, and about where I think he features with the club and what he believes a philosophy. Believes in that philosophy. I think he thinks the same way as Ten Hag does. I think he genuinely looks like a manager who seems to know what he's talking about and also is quite good with young players. So yeah, we'll see. I think Pochettino, I think when you've had these big managers at big clubs, you get a little detached from possibly the younger generation. You become a lot more focused on resources and transfers and money and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know. Yeah, look, we'll I'm sure things will turn around. It's a big match. Football's all about standing up and playing those big matches and being in those big matches and not being scared of being in those matches. The only way we'll be able to test ourselves is putting ourselves in that mix and seeing what we can do. I'm sure we'll all be happy and his chest will be puffed out and we'll all be, smiles if we win at Man City this weekend and then win at Atletico next week and then beat Liverpool. I'm sure if we get 3 wins out of 3 in the next 3 games, we are going to be very, very happy Man United fans. So Yeah, we'll see. But no, I appreciate your support as always, Imran, and for those that do watch back as well, I appreciate you watching. Going to leave the stream there. Going to catch up and do one tomorrow on managers and what's next for Man United in terms of management. And then yeah, we'll do a build up for the game on the weekend, big game against Man City. If I can, I'll do a watch along and I'll do a reaction video as well. Other than that, guys, take it easy, have a good one, and catch you on the next one. See you soon, bye.